I want to teach you today. I have on a tie, and the tie is a money tie. And it's not a power tie where you got, the yellow or the red. No, this actually has a printed of $100 bills on it. The information that I want to give you today within the next 2 weeks can start bringing you in revenue, and you can do it for $200 or less.
The 24-hour MBA provides higher knowledge in less time. Take your life and business to a higher level. These sessions cannot be legally duplicated without permission. Make sure that you fuel the growth of your life and business on the right foundation, for seeds grow into their own kind. This is practical, down-to-earth business knowledge, but the origin and pricing of these sessions are divinely inspired. The price is $70 for each person who hears 2 or more sessions. You will be blessed whether you listen to one session or the complete 24-session series. If the $70 has not been paid for you personally to listen to these files, please go now and pay for them at the 24hourmba.com. Knowledge that is honestly obtained imparts a greater blessing. And now, prepare to go higher with the 24-hour MBA.
You will notice that each session of the 24-hour MBA opens and closes with prayer. The sessions are not religious and are purely business-oriented, but the organizers of the 24-hour MBA are spiritual men who believe that after you have done all that you can do, there is a higher power that helps to facilitate a greater outcome. In business and in life, you need all of the help and blessing that you can get. This is session number 13 of the 24-hour MBA. This session covers the pros and cons of various advertising media by Nathaniel Bronner.
Today, I hope to transform your business and to give you some information that can double your business within the next year. Session number 13 of the 24-hour MBA, called The Pros and Cons of Various Advertising Media. As we usually do, I would like to open us in a word of prayer. I'm going to ask my brother, C. Elijah, if he would come and just open us up this morning with a word of prayer.
Let us pray. Father, we just love you and bless you. We thank you for allowing us to be here on this wonderful day that you have created. We thank you for life and health. Father, be with our speaker. We thank you so much for the information and for everyone who is here. We bless you and magnify you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. The pros and cons of various advertising media. One friend was talking to another and he said, "I can't understand why you failed in business." Friend told him, "Too much advertising." And the first friend said, "What do you mean too much advertising? You never spent a dime on advertising." Friend told him, "That's true, but my competitors did." Advertising, without question, is key with every business. There's an old adage that goes, "A business with no sign is a sign of no business." And advertising is truly a sign, no matter where that sign is placed. Now today we're going to go through a lot of stuff, really have a very short time to give you something that hopefully will transform your business. But the first thing that I want you to do, I want you to think in your mind, and I want you to determine how much a new customer is worth to you. Now most of the time we're in kind of locked, set mentalities of thinking of a sale or of a customer. We think of only that first sale or only that one sale. And I want to expand your thinking. And even if you are like 3 out of 4 businesses in the U.S., even if you are a one-person business, I want to expand your thinking to where you don't think like a one-person business, but you think like a 1,000-person business. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to realize how much is a customer worth. And I want you to think of this in terms of 5 different time frames of the first sale or the first week, the first year, a 5-year, and a 10-year value. And I just want to take just 4 very common businesses that all of us will frequent and just look at what the customer value would be as a general rough average for 4 different types of business. And just take, for example, say a florist. All of us at one time or another, we use a florist, we'll buy floral arrangements for weddings or funerals or whatever, or Valentine's Day. Say, for example, if you were a florist, the average floral arrangement probably cost about $50. Now, if you're talking about a wedding, it's a whole lot more money, but just say the average, and we're talking rough averages here. The average floral arrangement costs about $50. The average person will probably buy a floral arrangement roughly maybe once a year. Some people are more flowery than others, but as a general average, probably about once a year. If you were a florist, then you would look at the first sale as being worth $50. You would realize that the average person probably buys about $50 a year worth of flowers. They would be worth, if you procured a new customer, about $250 every 5 years and about $500 every 10 years. I want you to start thinking of customers in a 5 and a 10-year value. If you're a florist, every new customer is worth an average of $250 for 5 years to $500 for 10 years. Well, let's say you were a hairstylist or a barber. Most of us go to the hairstylist or to the barber at one point or another. The average haircut is $12 to $15 for a man. For a lady, it's about $30 to $50. The average man will go to the barber, the average woman to the hairstylist about once every 2 weeks. If you procure a new customer, first week, that customer is going to be worth $12 to $50. But over a year's period of time, for a man, for a barber, every new customer is worth $300 a year. Every new female customer for a female stylist is worth about $1,200 a year. But over 5 years, every new customer that a barber gets is worth $1,500. Every new female customer is worth $6,000. 10 years, that's $3,000 per customer for a man, $12,000 for a woman. When you start looking at a new customer, now a customer, if you're a hairstylist, a customer is now worth $6,000 every 5 years. I want you to think in terms of how much is a customer worth over an extended period of time. If you're cutting lawns, lawn service. If you have houses, you either do your own grass or you have somebody. I hire somebody to do my grass. A lawn service, about $100, depending on what. I got a huge front and backyard. It's about $100 a week as an average over the year, because in the winter season you don't use them, but it averages about $100 a week. Every year that's roughly at $100 a week, and you get your grass cut roughly every 2 to 3 weeks, depending. You're talking about $200 a month. So a customer is worth, if you have a lawn service, a customer is worth about $2,500 a year. 5 years, $12,500. 10 years, customer is worth about $25,000. Let's say you're a painter. I'm not talking about an artistic painter. I'm talking about a house painter. You paint walls. How much is a new customer worth? Well, this is not a situation where you go every week, but most people will have their house painted about every 10 years, rooms and that kind of thing. For a year, a new customer is probably worth $500. Every 5 years, roughly $2,500. Every 10 years, about $45,000. So every new customer you procure, I want you to think of whatever business that you're in, how much is this new customer worth as an average in 5 years? And that becomes the value. So when you start thinking about advertising, most of us make the mistake of thinking about advertising and how much it returns in just the one time. Now, sometimes you have a business and a customer is just a one-time customer. If it's a one-time customer, but most businesses, customers are repeat customers. Even if it's a big item, like a car, you still buy the car every 5 to 10 years, depending upon how long you keep it. So even big ticket item, the biggest ticket item is a house. Even if you're a real estate agent, you still want to get repeat customers, but you can look at the lifetime value. If you're a good agent and the customer really loves you, they may buy 2 or 3 houses, but they're only going to buy a house every 10 years. But still, the lifetime value of the customer or the long-term value of the customer is what I want you to think about. Now, I want you to think about how large companies value you as a long-term customer. And a good example to use, everyone within the sound of my voice virtually has a cell phone. And you know that some of you have real elaborate smartphones like I do. I paid $99 for my smartphone, but the smartphone retails for about $600. I paid $99. Well, why did I pay $99? Because I signed a 2-year contract with the cell phone company. Well, why did they give me a $600 phone, which they probably paid at least $400 for? Well, why did they give me a phone that they paid $400 for $99? Because they realized my long-term value. The average cell phone bill a month is about $75 a month. If you take $75 a month, that's $900 a year. A 2-year contract is worth to the cell phone company $1,800. Now, they have given me $300 because the cell phone probably cost them $400. I got it for $99, so that means they subsidized that purchase $300. To them, they paid $300 for a new customer acquisition, but what they understood is this: they get $1,800 back. And at the end of my 2-year period, most people still don't leave the cell phone company. They may get another phone. The average length of upgrade of a phone is over 3 years. So they realize that if they lock you into a 2-year contract, it'll be at least 3 years before you get another phone and 4 or 5 years before you're going to even switch cell phone company. They know if they're getting almost $1,000 a year, they know that $300 is going to bring them back $3,000 or $5,000. I want you to think like the big boys thinking. Don't just think of the first sale. Always consider your customers and what's called the long-term value of a customer. In both of the businesses that I am involved in, we normally lose money on the first sale. And we lose money on the first sale. For example, our largest business, Bronner Brothers, does about $25 million a year worth of hair care products. The average unit of a hair care product, if you go into a Walmart or a CVS, you'll find our products in every major retail store. The average price of a unit of our product is going to be $4 to $5. If we spend money advertising, we go to all type of consumer shows, we place ads in magazines, all this stuff. So if we place the ad and we get a new customer, by the time they pay for that $4 or $5 product, which we only get a fraction of that money back, our profit from that, from the first sale, is virtually always less than what it cost us to get that customer to buy that product. Well, you say to yourself, well, if it cost you more to get the customer to buy the product, wouldn't you be losing money and wouldn't you eventually go out of business? No, because the customer buys a product the first time. But when the jar is empty, what do they have to do? They go back to the store to buy the product again. And when they go back, it is the repeat business where we make a profit. We'll lose money for the first sale, just as the cell phone company will lose money for your first month of service. But by the time they get to the 6th month of service, they're profitable. By the time they get to the 1-year mark, they're very profitable. By the time they get to the 2-year mark, they are super profitable. That's why if you look at the top 10 advertisers in the country, cell phone companies rank among those top 10. The number 1 advertiser is P&G, Procter & Gamble. Many of you not familiar with the company, but you know their brand names. Tide, Dawn detergent, all this kind of stuff. Half of the stuff you use, P&G makes. They're the number 1 advertiser. But number 2 is Comcast. Right up there in the top 5, Verizon and AT&T. They spend a huge amount of money to get you as a customer because they recognize you are worth about $5,000 to them in the next 5 or 10 years. And they know that, so they can spend the money to get you. So I want you to think in that terms, how much in my business is the average new customer worth to me over the long run? Now, there are 7 major areas of media. Television, which is number 1. Television is still the king. Television, people spend more money in television advertising than any other media. Television is number 1. Internet is rising fast, but television is still over double what the internet is. So television is number 1. The reason television is number 1? Because you watch a whole lot of TV. You watch a whole lot of TV. Your kids watch a whole lot of TV. You watch a whole lot of television. And television is focused, directed, captive attention. Television still commands the number 1 advertising dollar in the world today. You have television, you have internet, you have newspapers, magazines, radio, cinema, and outdoor. Those are the 7 major advertising categories. You got other categories like premiums, for example. You buy ink pens with your logo on it, that type of thing. But the 7 major categories are those which I just named. And basically, we've done it all. We've done television. We're still doing television right now. We've done internet. We're still doing internet. We've done newspapers. We really don't do newspaper anymore. We've done magazines. We're still doing magazines. We've done radio. We don't do very much radio anymore. Cinema, that's film advertising. Every time you go to the movies and you just happen to see a product that's in the movie that the star is using, that's called product placement. It didn't just get there by happenstance. The company that made that product paid for that to be in the movie. You go to the movies now and you've got sometimes about 10 minutes worth of ads that run before your movie comes on. That's cinema advertising. So cinema, my brother is co-owner of a movie company, so we got a lot of movie placement. So we've got experience in almost all of these areas we have done, and I can talk with you and tell you about. Outdoor, that's billboard, that's bus stop advertising, that type of thing. If you're in Atlanta, you've seen our billboards around the city. We've done all of these kind of venues of advertising, and we're still doing a lot of it. And television is the granddaddy of it all. And if you look at just the biggest spot, it's the Super Bowl. You get a Super Bowl ad, there's a lot of pros with a Super Bowl ad. If you get a Super Bowl ad, you'll have 100 million people who will see your ad. They'll know about your company instantly. You'll instantly be known and recognized. All you have to do is get a Super Bowl ad. That's the pro of a Super Bowl ad. Now, the con of a Super Bowl ad is this. You got to spend $4 million for 30 seconds. And many of you, by the time you have $4 million to spend on 30 seconds, you don't even need to spend $4 million on 30 seconds. So that's the con of having to spend $4 million on an ad. And all fundamentally of these 7 areas, they all have pluses, they all have varying advantages and disadvantages. But the major con, there are 2 major cons of these 7 areas of advertising. First, it's expensive. Second, it's risky. If you do a television ad, number one, it's going to cost you to develop a very good television ad. Now, you can go sometime to the cable company. They'll come out and do you a free ad. But generally, the free ad is not real effective. The real good ads cost a whole lot of money. They cost a whole lot of money. They have a lot of creative power and talent that goes in. A real good ad, $100, $200, $300, $400, up to $1 million. Real good television ads are expensive, and it takes a lot of experience and talent to really produce a very good television ad. Then you got to pay for the ad to be run on television, which can run anywhere from the $4 million Super Bowl ad down to a $20 spot cable ad. But as a general principle, you pay for all advertising based on what's called a CPM, or a cost per 1,000 viewers or listeners who will see or hear or become exposed to your ad. So the more people who see it, the more it's going to cost you. So it's generally these 7 categories of advertising. They are generally expensive and they are generally risky. What I mean by risky is most small businesses do not have the resources or the talent to develop truly effective advertising. And if you don't have an effective ad, your ad is going to lose money, because it will cost you more in cost of acquisition than the customer is worth over their lifetime. Most small businesses cannot truly develop effective mass media advertising. And you need a budget that's considerable to really be effective in the mass media. You may need sometimes a $2 million budget depending upon what you're going to do. When we talked about distribution in that session, if you go to mass market retailers, they don't really care about your product. They don't care how good your product is. They only want to know one thing. How do you plan to move this product off the shelf? What is your advertising strategy? What are you going to do? Let me see the ads that you're going to place, the television spots that you're going to run, a radio, a magazine, or whatever it is. How are you going to move this off the shelf? That's all big retailers want to know when you go to there. So if you don't have an ad plan, you generally are not going to be able to get in mass market retailers, because that's the number one thing they want to know. How are you going to move this product off the shelf? And if you don't have a strategy and can't show them a program, 9 out of 10 times, unless you're going in under some super special program, you're not going to go on that shelf. So advertising is oftentimes critical when you're doing big market stuff, major distribution stuff. But as we have mentioned over and over 3 out of 4 businesses are single person businesses, and you're not at the point where you need a $2 million ad campaign. You're not at the point where you need a $200,000 ad campaign. You're not even at the point where you need a $20,000 ad campaign. But what you are at the point is where you could use a $200 ad campaign. And I want to see today, I want to give you an option. Do you want to know about the $200,000 program, or do you want to know about the $200 program? And I can talk to you about both of them. So I'm going to see by a show of hands how many of you are interested in knowing about the details of the $200,000 program, if you would raise your hand. Now, how many of you are interested in knowing about the $200 program? So it seems by an overwhelming show of hands, more people are interested in the $200 program than they are the $200,000 program. I want to teach you today, and perhaps this session, I have on a tie, and the tie is a money tie. And it's not a power tie where you got, the yellow or the red. No, this actually has a printed of $100 bills on it. The information that I want to give you today is something that you can use that within the next 2 weeks can start bringing you in revenue, and you can do it for $200 or less. This is what we mean by the guerrilla marketing and guerrilla business, of where you learn how to do a whole lot with a very little. When my father started in business, he was rich, but he had no money. So he was rich in training because his father and his grandfather were business people. They were farmers. They had owned stores way back in the country. It's a long historical story about how through social issues, all of the stuff was taken from them. So when my father started, he had very little material resources, but what he did have was an extensive richness and experience and training from his father and from his grandfather. Some of the things I'm going to tell you are some of the very same things that my father did years ago. They worked then, they work now, and you can do this stuff for under $200. So I want to tell you how you can start to doubling your business and spend a very small amount of money to do it. There are 3 things that you need on a tight ad budget. Now, how many of y'all got a tight ad budget? A tight ad budget, that's most people have a tight ad budget. You not only have a tight ad budget, you got a tight rent budget. You got a tight utility budget. You got a tight clothing budget. A lot of times we got tight budgets. There's just no 2 ways about that. There are some people hearing this and you just flowing with money, but it's still going to be applicable, because even the people who are flowing with money, when you really check their lifestyle, they operate on a tighter budget than the folk who don't have much money. That's why they have the money. I want to show you how you can prosper and increase your business on a tight ad budget. 3 things you need on a tight ad budget. First thing is, you need a good way for people to contact you or learn of your company. The 2 easiest ways: a website with an easy to remember name, and you need a good phone number. You first of all have to have an easy way for people to contact you and learn about your company. We've already done the seminar on a website. If you don't have a website, you absolutely need a website if you want to take your business to the next level. We have the resources to show you the link of where you can go and get your website absolutely free. Absolutely free. You can do it yourself. It will cost you nothing. And if you learn about websites and how to put it up, you need a website. You need a good name. Now, good name, you don't need some long 50-character name that people cannot remember. Most good website names are already taken. They're already registered. But that's still not a problem, because 80% of all website names that are registered are not in use. People have registered them, but they're not in use. Well, what sense is that? Why are they registered, but they're not in use? Because people have registered to resell them. And they have a business just of reselling domain names. Even if the name that you want for your business, and the way that you can tell that, how you can find out who owns a domain name, it gives you a contact letter to write to people, to ask the people, to purchase a domain name. But 80% of names that are registered are not in use. And generally, you can buy those names Most of them at a fairly reasonable price. Understand a domain name is like real estate. So if you got a real good name that people can remember, it's going to be yours for as long as you're in business. If you have to pay $200, $300, $400, $500 for a name, it's worth it. You may be able to find one that's not taken, that's easy to remember, but if you can't, most of them you can buy, and you can buy many of them for under $500. So you need a good way for people to contact you or learn about your company. Website is the best way to do that. Second best way is a phone number. Now, websites and phone numbers, they almost represent old school and new school. I'll give you a good example. Older people, if they're banking, they like to go inside and go to the teller. Young people want to go to the drive-through in the ATM. They don't want to fool with a teller. That's old school versus new school. But business is moving towards new school. If you want to be in the wave of what's here or what's coming, move to new school. Old school wants a telephone number. New school wants a website. It's best to have both. But if you have to choose between the two, choose a website. The advantages of a website versus a phone number is this. Number one, you can have a consistent, thorough presentation of your business and what you offer to everyone who goes there. And it's 24/7. If somebody wants to know about your business, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, well, you don't want to answer that call because you're probably asleep. Website, they can go 24/7. Holidays, it doesn't matter. It's open all of the time. And you've got a consistent pool of information that you can give the people. You can put pictures of your business, pictures of the jobs that you've done or your product or services, testimonials, all kinds of stuff on your website. If they call you, it take you 30, 45 minutes to tell them all that stuff. It saves your time. It's far more efficient. It's new school versus old school. Number one, people need a good way to contact you and learn about your business. Number two, you need to do a video and put it on YouTube. Now, that's absolutely free. YouTube is the second largest search engine right behind Google. People will search Google first and YouTube second. Now, I know you're saying, but I don't have video training. I don't have a videographer. I don't know how to do video editing. Every one of you got a video system. It's on your cell phone. Most of the modern cell phones now take movies. They're movies that they shoot. Now, here in this building, we've got top-notch pro stuff. And we've had it for the last 19 years. The cell phones now take better video than our pro stuff did 15 years ago. All you got to do is get out in the sunlight where your lighting is excellent, shoot your testimonial or your promotional video, upload it to YouTube, put you some good search words in there about your business so they can find it easy. It doesn't cost you anything. So do the stuff. That's why I said for $200, first of all, the YouTube video costs nothing. Put your website, put your phone number in it, put all the stuff about your business, and you put it on YouTube. Absolutely nothing. If you don't have stuff in there about your business on YouTube that's absolutely free, you need to get it done, and you need to get it done ASAP. Take your cell phone out, go have your friend video while you stand there. And if you want to go to a pro upgrade, that's fine, but you don't need to. And it's far better for you to have a B quality video on YouTube that sells than wait 10 years trying to get an A quality and you never get it up there. This is simple. It's easy to do. All of you can do it. There's no excuse. If you don't have a cell phone that shoots video, you know someone who does. Your child does. So if you don't know someone who does, and this stuff is easy to do, but most businesses don't have it done. First, you need a good way for people to contact you or learn of your company. That's a good, easy to remember website or phone number. Second, you need a commercial on YouTube. Third, you need billboards. Now, when I say billboards, most of you will instantly think of the billboards that you see on major expressways and major highways. And we've bought those, we have some now, but that's not what I'm talking about. Billboards are simply outdoor advertising. I'm going to tell you, and most billboards that are on major expressways, those billboards run anywhere as an average. They run about $3,000 a month. That's what, some go from $3,000, they go up to $10,000 a month. So when you see billboards with a lot of traffic, those people are paying a pretty decent penny for that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different type of billboard. There are roughly 200 people enrolled in the live sessions of the 24-hour MBA. I went out and looked at the cars outside. I looked at all of the cars outside. There are virtually no signs on any of the cars outside. The first type of billboard that you need is a rolling billboard, and it needs to be on your car. Now, let me tell you why you don't have it on there, and let me tell you why you need it on there. I parked my car. It's actually one of my cars. I parked it right outside of the door that you come in. Did you all see the little blue car? What was on that little blue car? Everybody can remember what was on that car. I drive that car 90% of the time. The Lexus outside is mine too. I had someone drive it this morning. It has magnetic signs, but the little car is what I drive most of the time. And it has do42.com on that car. Almost everybody remembered it. The point is, when I drive that car, it's a rolling billboard. When I first got it and I got it wrapped, I learned some things about wrapping that startled me. First of all, I found out this: companies will pay you to wrap your car and drive around. They pay anywhere from $300 to $900 a month for them to wrap your car and just for you to do your regular driving. Now, if a company will pay, now you have to meet certain criteria. It has to be in a big city. You can't park your car at night in a garage. They want certain profile of people, people who are mothers or who are around a lot of people who influence, that kind of thing. But for the most part, they pay anywhere from $300 to $900 a month to wrap your car and for you to just do your normal driving. They have other companies that will pay for the gas for your car. Now, this is the point. If other businesses recognize the value of a sign on your car and will pay you $300 to $900 a month or will pay for your gas, why don't you have your own sign on your own car? This is the point, and this is one of those things that you can get done for a very little amount of money, but it has a big impact. And that's why I began with you understanding the value of the long-term value of a customer. And let me just tell you about even the little car that has do42.com on it. And I know some of you are saying, but that's not a business. You don't make any money from that. It is my business. It's not my money-making business, but see, my other business is I help people. I change people's lives. I want to elevate them to a different level. To be honest, I make enough money from my business where I don't have to make money from my spiritual venture. So I make my money from my business. So when I drive that car, I went to South Carolina last week, and we just put on the Do42 website for people when they go and register. We just put on there where they came from. I saw when a lady came through and she had registered, saw on a car in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And I was just driving through. But people will look at your car. Now, I want you to think, when you are driving and you see a car go by with a magnetic sign on it that says something, do you read it? Yes, you read it. If you're standing at a stoplight and there's a car in front of you and they have something on their back window, do you read it? Yes, you read it. Matter of fact, not only do you read the magnetic signs on the car, not only do you read the sign on the back window, you read the bumper stickers. And most people will have bumper stickers on their car talking about mess, talking about stuff that brings them no money whatsoever. And they will not put a sign on their car that advertises their business. People, the average person in America, the average adult drives about 15,000 miles a year. That's 41 miles a day. How many people do you think see your car in every mile that you drive? Just if you had to take a guess, what would you think? How many people, especially in a city, and if you're down in a country where you can drive 15 miles, you see nothing but cows, that's different. But if you're talking in the city, how many people even if you're on the expressway, there are always cars going by. How many people do you think see your car per mile for every mile that you drive? Just take a guess. 5, some said 100. I would say at least a bare rock bottom minimum, a bare minimum of 3 people. And that's probably super low. But a bare minimum of 3 people will see your car for every mile you drive. So if you drive 41 miles a day, that is 123 people a day who will see your advertising and your sign. And suppose, if it's roughly 120 people a day, how many is that a week? Over 700 people a week. And that's based on 3 people a day. It's probably closer to 5 to 10 people per mile actually see your car. By putting a sign on your car You can expose your business to 1,000 people a week as a conservative estimate. Now, out of those 1,000, suppose you just get one customer. My brother James was telling me about they just got new carpet in their house. Where did you get that carpet from? Just shout it out.
Car sign.
Car sign. He saw a sign on a car. What did it say?
They have a certain price for a room of carpet.
How much was the price?
My wife saw it. I don't.
His wife saw it and wrote it down, but I think he told me it was $99 a room or something like that. So they saw the sign on a car, says $99 a room for carpet. They called the number. They didn't just get one room, got the whole house done. So how much is a customer worth? That's why if you got, let's just say you didn't even get one a week. Let's say 1,000 people saw your car, but you only got one a month. Out of 4,000 people, only one response, you got one new customer. How much is a new customer worth to your business? And if you got one a month, that's 12 a year. But if you got one a week, that's 50 new customers a year. Many of you, if you got one new customer a week and added 50 a year, how many customers is that in 5 years if you have an 80% retention rate? That's more customers than you can handle. And it would all come just from you putting a sign on your car. There are 2 reasons why we don't have signs on our cars. But I can tell you just with mine, every Wednesday I'll take off. I usually go somewhere. Sometimes I go down to a little South Georgia town and I'll spend the day there. I stay at a small hotel. I had gone there on a Wednesday. The hotel has a refrigerator in the room, but I had some stuff I wanted to bring back. But I didn't have a cooler with me. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and I knew the only place I was going to be able to get a cooler was a Walmart. I put it in my phone to see how far the Walmart was, because it was open 24 hours. It was 30 miles away. I said, that's too far. But I heard a spiritual unction said, go get the cooler at Walmart. 10 o'clock at night. I was like, good. But anyway, I've learned to listen to the voice of my inner guidance. And I drove over to Walmart. I'm in my little car with Do 42 on it. Drove to Walmart, bought my cooler. On the way back, coming down a little dark highway, it's about 11 o'clock at night. I see blue lights in the back. Nobody in front of me, so I figured he's after me. But I wasn't worried about it. I said, look, if the Lord has led me out here, I'm not worried about it. I pull over. Fella walks over to me and he said, what you doing out here this time of night? I told him, I said, well, I'm staying over in a certain little town and I came to the Walmart to get a cooler. I showed him a cooler, my bag and all. He said, oh. He said, you know how fast you were going? I said, probably about 45. He said, you were doing 51. It's a 35 mile an hour zone, but the 45 mile zone was right next to it. So I knew he really didn't pull me over for that. He said, what's this 42? So the real reason, and this was a state trooper, the real reason he pulled me over, he saw my car and he wanted to know what was do42.com. I told him I had some cards and I handed him 2 cards. And I told him, I said, look, I didn't even want to come out here, but I was just led spiritually to come out here for some odd reason. It may have been because you need to do 42. And he took the card. He said, you may be right. Have a good day. Gave me no ticket, nothing. If you put a sign on your car, even the police, when you go by, they will say, what is that? Because they need services just like everyone else. Everyone will see the sign if you just have the wisdom to put the sign on your car. There are 2 big reasons why we don't have signs on our car. The first reason is we don't realize the value. I didn't know the value until I got, my daddy always had a sign on his car. He would always have a product sign on his car. He knew that instinctively 50 years ago. He always had a magnetic sign on his car that advertised a product. Everywhere he went, he always had a sign on his car. I didn't understand how much other companies valued it until I went to get mine wrapped. And I saw these companies paying all this money just for you to drive around with their product or their company on your car. And then I did the logistics of it and the analysis. I said, yeah, a lot of people see it. A lot of people see it. A lot of people see your car and they will notice your company. If you have a sign on your car, you read it, they will read it. The average car payment is about $420 a month. Do you realize if you put a sign on your car, you will likely generate enough business to pay for your car and to pay for your gas. We just don't know. And if you put a sign on your back window, not only will it sell every time you're stopped somewhere at a red light, but when you know how those signs work, we have our bus with signs on the windows, and you can't see inside very good, but you can see outside very clearly. If you put a sign on your back window, thieves can't see in your car, but you can see out. So it's a theft deterrent. So it has a lot of advantages, but the main reason, it brings you in money. Now, a full car wrap costs anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. A full car wrap is kind of expensive, but the magnetic signs are not. They cost about $25. You can get 2 signs for $50, and I got some on sale for $10. You can get magnetic signs that are very inexpensive that could very well double your business every single year. The back window signs cost about $100 to $150, depending upon how big a car you have. You got a small window, maybe $100. A bigger window is about $150. But that's why I wanted you to understand the long-term value of a customer. How much is a customer worth? And if you just get a customer every week or two from having your car decorated, how much is that worth? The reason, number 2, that we don't have our cars decorated is because we think it will cheapen our stylish look. That's what really, that's one of the major, we think it'll cheapen our stylish look. We want to be sharp when we drive. And we figure that a sign on our car is going to downgrade our look. I had an experience with someone I was advising. They had gotten fired from their job. They had a small side business, and the business was struggling. They were always complaining about money. I said, look, why don't you get some magnetic signs and put on your car, and that will help advertise your business because you need additional customers. He said, man, I don't have money for that. My money's too tight. I said, the signs cost $30. They're $15 a piece. You got 30. Oh, no. My money's too tight. Money is too tight. But he had a very sharp car. His car was real sharp. Didn't hardly have money to put gas in the car. Struggling like mad. Couldn't pay his bills, complaining all the time about money. Real sharp car. Didn't have $30 to buy the signs. About 2 weeks later, he got in an accident. Small accident. He rear-ended somebody. The insurance deductible was $250. He paid it. Now, the car was still drivable, just a little dent in the fender, but it messed up his ride. It messed up the look of his ride. Didn't mess up the drivability. It drove, you couldn't even tell it had a dent in the front bumper, but he couldn't drive around with a dented front bumper. He got the $250 up to pay the deductible to get his car fixed, but claimed he couldn't get the $30 to put signs. And then I understood the real reason. The real reason had nothing to do with the $30. The real reason, he didn't want the signs on his ride. And people, I will tell you this. It's better for you to have some signs on your ride than to have your ride on the back of a tow truck repossessed with no sign. A business with no sign is a sign of no business. And you're under a misconception that it will lower your status image. I've had that car and I've had it wrapped for about 4 years. So I've driven it somewhere everywhere. I have never once had anyone talk about the sign or the wrap in a degrading manner. It's always been, what is do42.com? What is it? Every case, unanimously, they have always been inquisitive, and most people won't ask. They just go to the website to see what it is. That's why you got to have on your sign your full contact information so people can get a hold of you very easily. If you think that it's going to mess up your status, that's not true. When people see a business sign, it actually elevates your status because they know you're about business. You have to change mentality. See, if you're going to change money, you got to change mentality. Change mentality, you will change money. If you're ashamed to have a sign on your car, you're ashamed of the new customers flooding in. Put that sign on both sides, put you a sign in your back window, and watch what begins to happen to your business. It will not degrade your public or status image. It absolutely won't. You see, even with fine cars, most of the people who have money, they don't spend all that money in all those luxury cars anyway. The stats have shown that 61% of the people who earn $250,000 a year or more, none of them have real fancy luxury cars. They buy the same cars that you and I and the rest of the public buy. The number one cars among 61% of the people who earn over $250,000 a year are Toyotas, Hondas, and Fords. The number one car among millionaires in the U.S. is the Ford 150 pickup truck. Because when people have money, they don't give a hoot about trying to impress you. They really don't. When people really have money and who are really confident about themselves, they don't give a hoot about trying to impress. They know they got the money. They don't worry about whether you know it or not. Usually, most of the time, with most of the fancy cars, in so many cases, you know, they used to have the song about leaning to the side. Most of the time, we're leaning to the side because the note's so heavy on us, it's got us leaning. You need to put a sign on your car. It will not degrade your status. It will increase your business, and you can get those signs. You can get all this stuff for under $200 and to change your business and change the direction. Now, there are some tips I want to use you just for the signs. I'm not going to talk about any of the television or any of the other stuff. In the Q&A, if you got some questions, ask me. I can probably answer them, but I want to focus on stuff you can do for $200 or less and really make a change in your business starting today. All of the links of where to get the stuff. It'll give you the link where you can go to get the signs, the back window, all that stuff, absolutely cheap. The website stuff, cheap, even phone numbers. Toll-free numbers are not necessary, but depending upon the scope of your business, they become a big advantage. See, a toll-free number now, to be honest, is not a real advantage because everyone has cell phone. All the cell phone has free nationwide long distance. So toll-free has no advantage. The only advantage it has is image. When people see an 800 number, they know you're a business and they know you're serious. If you see 1-800 something, you know that's a business, you know they're serious. You generally can't get an 800 number because all the 800 numbers are taken up. No, they're not. You have to know how to go get them. And you have to buy them. Sometimes you may have to pay $200, $300, $400 for an 800 number, but it's like a website. A good number, the 800 number for my company is 1-800 the woman. People can remember it. When you call the number, they're going to answer the phone, 1-800 the woman. It's easy to remember. It's worth a fortune because it's easy to remember. So I own 1-800 the woman. I own thewoman.com. Easy to remember. Your number ain't worth a hoot if folk can't remember it. You need to have an easy to remember number. There are still ways to get that. The resources to do that. All this will tell you about if you need a phone number for the old school folk. Most businesses locally don't need an 800 number unless you're considering expanding beyond the local area. And if you are, the long distance saving is not significant. The image is. When people see an 800 number, they instantly trust that you are a significant business. I want to run through some tips. First of all, even on your car sign. Number one, you need to have what's called the 2-second and the 4-word guideline. Car signs are like billboards, and well-designed billboards follow the 2-second rule. You need to be able to read it in 2 seconds. 1001, 1002. You need to be able to read it in 2 seconds. Now, you don't have to follow that guideline. These are just best practices. These are proven practices. 2 seconds. So you don't want a whole ton of stuff. You want to be able to get the gist of that car sign in 2 seconds. 1001, 1002, and you need to know what it's about. Second tip is your main pitch needs to be 4 words or less, if possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but the main pitch needs to be 4 words or less if you can do that. The reason for that is book publishing is another thing that we do. And we were talking with an agent, and the agent told us that with a byline, which is the thing under the title, they told us it always needs to be 4 words or less, because if it's 4 words or less, it goes straight into the consumer's subconscious mind. If it's more than 4 words, they have to process it and think about it. If it's 4 words or less, it goes into the subconscious mind easier, quicker, without analysis. If you can, make it 4 words or less. You need to make it big, make it simple, make it easy to remember and to understand. It's just like James when he saw his wife saw the sign that says, carpet, $99 a room, and had the phone number. And she jotted it down and called it. I was sitting in a drive-through with my wife. There was a car in front of me, and I'm working to pass the Navy SEAL test fitness challenge. And one of the things is swimming. You have to be able to swim 500 yards in X amount of time. I live on a lake. I have a 2.5-acre lake in my backyard, but I needed to train for the swimming, and I was actually considering putting a pool in the backyard because I swim in the lake, but sometimes you get a little nervous about that because there's snakes and other stuff in the lake. But anyway, I was considering putting a pool in my backyard. I was there at the drive-thru. There was a car in front of me, had on the back window. We do irrigation, pools, and all this stuff. And I saw that. I said, write this number down. I still have, now I'm not ready to put the pool in. It may be 2 or 3 years later, but that's going to be the first fella I call. All because he had a sign on the back of his truck. It was an SUV, the same kind of thing you drive. He had a sign on the back of his truck. While I'm sitting there in the drive-thru, I read his sign just like you read every sign. I've personally seen how the signs are effective and how they work because everyone reads vehicle signs. You need the 2-second rule, the 4-word guideline. Make it big, simple, easy to remember and understand. And when you have a car sign, there are 3 things that you really need to have incorporated in the sign for maximum effectiveness. First of all, they need to know what it is. Carpet, $99 one room. You need to know what it is. So it needs to be clear what it is, unless the purpose of it is to direct them to a website for something else. So there's sometimes when it's not clear, it's a question mark, but the question makes people go to the source that you want to go to. But the vast majority of the time, it needs to be, number 1, clear what it is. Number 2, they need to know how to contact you. If you know it's carpet for $99 a room and they don't know how to get a hold of you, the sign just drives on by. And you may be talking, say, that sign, I can get a carpet for $99, but how do I get it? So you have to have a method for them to contact you. Website is the new way. Phone number is the old way. Both of them work. And oftentimes you can even have both of them so you get new school and old school. But website answers the questions without you having to become involved. So they need to know how to contact you. The third thing that really helps the effectiveness is for you to have a deal on your sign. You need to have a deal on your sign. Carpet, $99 per room. That's a deal. That's why I began with you thinking about what is the long-term value of a customer. Sometimes it is better for you to offer a very good introductory deal for you to secure the customer, and you make your money on the second go-round. If you're a barber and you're trying to get more customers, super barber, such and such number, first-time customers, $3 special. Now, $3, to be honest, man, you're probably not going to, but if you do a real good job on their hair, they're coming back. Then you charge them $15. And you charge them $15 for the rest of their life until you go up on that. Do you understand the difference? But you need to have a good first-time deal. Don't think about, well, if I charge this man $3, I'm only going to get $3. I got to spend 30 minutes on his hair. I'm only going to get $3. No, you're not going to get $3. If you do a great job on his hair, you're going to get that man back for the rest of his life. That's the way you need to think. Think like the cell phone companies. Give them a deal of a lifetime to sign the contract. And you make your money on the back end. Don't worry about the front end. Don't worry about that first time unless you're dealing with a one-time business where I started to say even a funeral business is a one-time business, but not really. Because funeral companies, you're not going to die but one time, but you may bury several folk. Most businesses have either repeat or referral potential built in them. Do not think about the first time. You think about the second, the third, the fourth, all down to the 100th time. You need to have 3 things on your car sign. What it is, how to contact you, and give them a deal if you want it to be super effective. And I'm sure you do want it to be highly effective. First, you need a rolling billboard. Second, you need a walking billboard. You need a walking billboard. 2 weeks ago, I was with my son. I took him to New York to stay in Nikola Tesla's room, a great engineer because he wants to be an engineer. And I have a shirt on that I wear most of the time, and it has a little logo on it. The logo simply says airjesus.com, a website for the soul. L, when we were there in New York, how many days did people mention my shirt? Every day. Every day. Now, this is just the people who mentioned it. It's not the people who saw it. This is just the people who came up to me and mentioned it. And it's not a big shirt. It's just a patch over where the pocket is. It's about 4 inches long, but you'll be surprised how many people you go up to and you meet close, face to face. Every time you go to buy something to the cashier, you're standing there. You'll be surprised how many people, every restaurant you go to, the waitress, you'll be surprised how many people you run into every day. You need a walking billboard. And you can do it classy with just your logo and a slight slogan over the patch of your shirt. I wear a lot of t-shirts. T-shirts you can do big. And you put those same 3 elements on your t-shirt. Be sure to do a t-shirt front and back, because the back is more powerful than the front. The reason being, oftentimes people will not stare at the front because they're kind of self-conscious about looking at your chest, but they'll stare at your back all day long. The back is actually more powerful than the front. Make sure you get front and back. You need a rolling billboard and you need a walking billboard. And this is just, it's basic. All of you have seen t-shirts, all of you have seen magnetic signs and wraps on cars, but most of you have never understood the power and the efficiency and the cheapness of those methods of advertising. I have all of my shirts embroidered with the logo from one company. I'll put that source, and the shirts don't cost any more than regular shirts. It's not like you pay a huge, the shirts don't cost any more than regular shirts do. But you got your logo and you advertise. And if you just get one new customer every 2 or 3 weeks or a month, it makes a huge difference in your business. It transforms you and oftentimes can change from where you are struggling to where you are prospering. I told you, I don't just want you in business, I want you prospering in business. And these are some ways, they're simple, but they work. And most people, because their mentality has not changed, they don't know about it, or they simply don't do it. So you need a rolling billboard, you need a walking billboard. I want to just go through a brief synopsis of what I've just told you. Number 1, know your customer's worth over at least a 5-year period. Sit down and actually do that analysis and write it down. Don't just run it through in your head, write it down so you actually know how much is a new customer worth to me over a 5-year period. Number 2, have a good way for customers to contact you and learn of your business. The website is the best way. Phone is second. Website is new school, phone is old school, but phone still works. And depending upon the type of advertising, phone is still number 1. If you notice with most direct marketing television commercials, they talk about the 800 number more than they do the website. So it depends upon the venue, but for your car sign, where people need to go and learn and see about your business, the website is going to be the easiest one. It's 24/7. It's cheap for you to really get set up once you put your mind to it. And it helps you. Matter of fact, even my 2 sons who have been attending here, my oldest son is here now. The second oldest, he's not here today because he's taken a class. He's taken an app development class to learn how to develop apps for the mobile phone. I'm training them on how to run business. I've got my sons, they're training now to learn how to build websites. Stand up, son. You see what shirt he has on? Great websites, $99. websiteproductions.com. Those are the 3 elements. What it is, how to contact you, and a deal. Great websites, $99, websiteproductions.com. That's the principle. He got his shirt on. He has a sign. Well, it's my car, but he drives it. So he has a sign on my car. What do you think the sign says? Great websites, $99, websiteproductions.com. That's what it says. Anyone he drives by or walks by and they need a website and they see the shirt, and I told him, I want you all to be experts in website design and it teaches them about business, but you can sit down there. But that's the principle of the 3 elements: what it is, how to contact you, and give the people a deal. Have a good way for customers to contact you and learn of your business. Number 3, get a rolling billboard. If you got a vehicle, you need a sign on your car. Number 4, have it readable in 2 seconds, and if possible, the wording 4 words or less. Number 5, let people know what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is. Number 6, a deal. Make sure you have a deal that would appeal to you and that will appeal to others. And it doesn't matter if you have a business that is a repeat customer-based business. It doesn't matter if you lose money on the first customer. Don't worry about that. You make your money on the repeats. The next one, a walking billboard. You need to have clothing or t-shirts with the same thing that you have on the car, with those same 3 principles that will sell. When you go walk down the mall, how many people do you think will read the back of your shirt when you walk down a crowded mall? How many people? Every single one. Don't you all read it? And you especially will read the back. Now the front, like I said, sometimes you may not read the front, especially if it's a woman, because you don't want to look like you're staring at her chest. So sometimes you may not read all of the front, but you will always read all of the back. You absolutely will. If you read it, everyone else, so when you go to the mall, have on your shirt, and you are a walking billboard. Don't you know in the old days they used to have these signs they would hang over their shoulders? You even see them now. You see people out dressed in costume with apartments, with tax services, all this kind of stuff standing. That's nothing but a walking billboard. You need to be your own walking billboard. And you can do it cheap. You got to wear clothes anyway. You might as well wear some. I don't worry about ever trying to put somebody else's brand on my behind. I want my own brand on my body. It's a change of mentality. And when you change mentality, you will change your money. But if you're too stuck up to put a sign on your car and your business on your body, your money will remain tight. You got to change your mentality to change your money. Get a good website name and put a video about your business on YouTube. That's a summation of what I've gone on. And all of this stuff you can do for $200 or less. And it will change your business. It will change your image. And even when you get in your own car, it will change. Now, I'm going to make an offer. I had some signs printed up for the 24-hour MBA. These signs, normally they cost about $15, $20. They had them on special for $10. These signs cost $10. How many of you all do a lot of driving? Just raise your hand. You do a lot of driving. Keep your hands up. I'm going to make an offer to 3 people. I'm going to pay you $70 to put this sign on your car and drive for 1 month. $70. Now I'm going to start with those at the front. And that's an advantage of sitting at. So I'm going to start with the front row, because if you're at the front, it makes a difference. I'm going to start right over here. 1, 2, and 3. What you do, put these signs on your car and drive with it for 1 month and bring back the signs next month, and I'm going to give you a check for $70. Now the class cost $70. How many customers does it take for me to break even? 1 per person. If they drive for a month, it takes 1 person for me to break even. But if I can do that for my own business, when you all pull those signs off next month, you need to have your own signs to go right in that spot. And every one of you need to have a sign on your car. So that's the end of the presentation. For $200, you can change your business, change your customer flow, change your money, change your mentality, and it will change your money. We're open now for questions. So for those of you who have questions about anything I did not talk about, I'll do my best to answer them. Yes, good question. She said, we know that we're supposed to wear our own stuff, but how do you get other people to wear your stuff? And that's a challenge. To get other people to wear it, you have to have something that they want to wear. Which means we got experience in all this stuff. We had the #1 t-shirt in the hair care industry. We had the #1 t-shirt. We had the #1 radio commercial. Our t-shirt says this. On the front, it said, people often wonder who I curl up with. And on the back, it had the BB Cosmopolitan curl. People loved the shirt because they liked the slogan. You can't have what's called just a billboardy shirt if you want other people to wear it. You have to have something that's cute, that's catchy, that's pretty, that they want to wear. And if you have something that's, for example, if you got, what is your business? You have a gift basket company and you're an author. So you may need a slogan of something that, I've got a gift for you, ask me. Or something like that. I mean, you got to have something that's cute that a person who is not connected with your business will want to wear. And people will want to wear things either because it makes a statement that they agree with, because it brings them status, or they just like the cuteness of it. People have all kinds of shirts. Most of the clothing that people wear does not advertise something of theirs. It advertises something of someone else's. You have to think, and this is where the marketing creativity and genius comes in. You have, especially if you want other people to wear it, you have to come up with something that they want to wear. And oftentimes it depends. You got to know what market you're appealing to. And for example, with Do 42, we're working on a shirt now for that. And we've gone through about a dozen different concepts to try to get a shirt that people who do 42 want to wear. We first had to identify our market. We found that everyone who does 42, for the most part, they want to lose some weight. So the slogan that we're going to use is, can you do 42? Because it's not easy. So people who have done it, they want to wear the shirt, because they want to, can you do 42? Because I've done it. You've got to have a slogan, or you got to have a shirt that people want to wear. If you want people, now if it's people in your business, you can make them wear it. But especially while they're at work or something. But if they're at work already, they're already in your place of business, and it kind of defeats it. You need it when they're in the mall. You got to have a shirt they want to wear while strolling through the mall. That's where it takes some genius to develop a shirt that they want to wear. Like, people often wonder who I curl up with. Folk just love that shirt because the secondary meaning of it had nothing to do with a hairstyle. So you have to develop creativity to make a shirt or apparel that people want to wear outside of your business. Next question. The question was, for advertising, would I suggest offering a deal if you're in the real estate business? Now, that depends. It doesn't necessarily have to be a deal. What it has to be is something that catches people. I have houses you can get in for no money down. See, no money down houses would catch a lot of people. Now, whether you have to be true now, whether you can do that or not. But if you had, whatever real estate company, no money down houses, that would catch people. Bad credit houses, that would catch people. It doesn't have to be a deal, but it has to be something that when people see it, and then it depends upon the target market that you're going after. Now, if you're selling in the upscale arena, the no money down, and the bad, well, yeah, even in that arena, it can have an impact. But sometimes so you always have to know, what market am I selling to? What is my strength? What is your real estate strength? You do home inspections, and the real estate is a spinoff of the home inspections. Your magnetic sign would be home inspections. Yeah, you could still have a slogan. Check it before you get it. Home inspections, check it before you get it. Free estimates often get you a lot of business. So just even the word free estimate, you have to think, if you were in the market, what is the slogan? What is the catchphrase that will cause you to act on it? What is that catchphrase? And for each individual business, it's something different. But if you're doing home inspections, that's not a business that you're going to have a whole lot of repeat on, because they're only going to do that once every 10 years. That first one, you really have to make your money off of that first one. But you can have a $50 off. They don't know off of what. So it's up to you to try to get that, but you have to, home inspections, check it for $50 off special. So they don't know, all they know is it's $50 off. So they don't know off of what. You have to have a catchphrase that will make people want to go to your website or call your number when they need a home inspection. Now see, home inspection, that's why you have to have the memory part right. They may not need a home inspection at the time, but 3 years later, they may buy a house. They need to be able to remember your contact info. If you had a website like the Home Inspector Wizard or something like that, something that they could remember very easy, 3 years later, they can still remember, go to the homeinspectorwizard.com. So whatever it is, that's where the memory power comes in. Now, you may not want to be called a wizard, but whatever it is, Home Inspector Daddy, however, whatever it is, something that they can remember easy. When they get ready for a home inspection, they have seen your sign, Or they have written the information down. Next question. Yes. The question was, she says she's in the life insurance business, and a lot of people don't like to talk about that. How can you make that appealing? Generally, life insurance is often sold on how inexpensive they can get it. Most of the time, when you see ads for life insurance, it's going to be term life insurance, get a $100,000 policy for $10 a month, or something like that. So oftentimes, you have to appeal to the economics of it, of whatever you're selling. And you have to come up, first of all, what I would recommend is this. I would recommend do an internet search on life insurance policies. And I would see what ads everyone else is using, and something will probably catch your eye. Because whatever they're using, that they're using a lot, is working. So find out what's working and perhaps do a spin-off on that same angle. If it's a cost factor, that's a more difficult sale. You can't do a deal on that. So you have to do something. And sometimes you need life insurance. You may have to have that website where they can easily remember it. But you compete with the big boys. And sometimes, and what I mean by big boys, you compete with people who are well known, have a big name, and they will automatically go to. So you've got to have a unique selling point for them to remember and go to you. Why do people not want to talk about life insurance? They don't like to think about dying. I mean, just in case you don't live forever. I mean, it's something like that, yeah. I mean, life insurance, just in case you don't live forever, and put your website there. I mean, and see, now this is a part of how humor sells. Because people can remember it, and when they see it, they're gonna laugh. So just in case you don't live forever, they will remember that, they will laugh, but you gotta have your website. And you see how the creative, you gotta be able to think. And even in a market where the thing is dull, you gotta have something that stands out. Just in case you don't live forever, it addresses the main objection that they don't want to talk about death, but they recognize they're not gonna live forever. It'll make them laugh, and it will increase the response percentage. That's even a good website, yes. When you're competing against what they call the 900-pound gorillas, you have to have something that stands out from the big boys. Next question. Business cards. That's one of the major things that you'll be surprised how many people you'll ask, do you have a card? And they say, no. You need to have a business card, and your business card fundamentally needs to follow the same rules that I've given. One thing that people don't do with most business cards, they don't utilize the back of the card. It's wasted real estate, and it costs very little to get the back printed. Always print something on the back of your card. Whatever you're selling, whatever specials you want to do, whatever you want to talk about, use the back of the card, but you have to make sure you carry the card. You need to have a card that has the same things that your magnetic sign will have on it. Same principles, same elements, same contact information, because you'll have more contact information on your card. But utilize the back of your card and make sure you have a card. So if people see your sign, you can have a card. Half of the business people that I run across, they don't keep cards with them. It's old school, but it still works, because what I will do, I take the card and put the information in my phone and throw the card away. That's normally what I will do. But you have to have a card, and I actually take a photograph of the card. The picture of the card is stored in the contact record. So that's the new school way of doing it, but you have to have a card. And there are some other ways of where you got digital transfer with a V card, but most people, that hadn't caught on that well yet. So you need a physical paper card. Next question, yes. Well, he's asking, what if your business is like an investment or financial planning? All different types of business, you have to come up with your own slogan, become a millionaire with $20 a week, ask me how. And you can do it. Become a millionaire with $20 a week, ask me how. But you read that sign? Yeah, you're going to read it anyway, no matter what it says. The question is, will you respond to that sign? Become a millionaire, $20 a week, ask me how. Next question. He says he saw on television the guy was renting out his head as a walking billboard. That's not new. It's called skinvertising. Yeah, and people actually would do that with tattoos. And they would literally sell space on their body to companies, and companies were paying them to tattoo their body. That's a pretty permanent sign, but they were paying them to tattoo their body. And skinvertising it's still being done, but that's called skinvertising. He had an electronic sign. That's the whole point of the message today. You have a rolling and a walking billboard that more people will see than his sign. So use the things and the resources that you have, and you can do all of this that I'm talking about for $200 or less. Yes. She asked the question. She has a sign on her car, but she's not getting the response that she wants. And she says, perhaps the line is too long, putting the power of health back in the hands of the people. And the problem is, it doesn't tell you what it is. See, again, I would have no idea. I don't know whether that's a vitamin. I don't know whether that's a colonic. I don't know whether it could be acupuncture, it could be massage, I don't know what that is. So the problem is, if the offer is not clear, you often will not get response, because people, unless it generates the type that people want to go and find out what it is. But that one, it's such a broad range of something, people would have no idea what that is, and it doesn't give them a firm offer to grab and to bite into. So that's why it needs to be simple of what it is. It needs to have a deal, and it needs to know how you can contact them. Real easy. Yes, we've got time for one or two more questions. The question was, if I wanted to advertise around a specific demographics, would I recommend the postcard type? Direct mail is the most expensive CPM of almost any advertising. The CPMs, which is the cost per 1,000 people reached, direct mail is between 75 cents to $1 a person. Highest CPM of any method that you can use. I'm not sure it is that efficient. Now, it is highly targeted, but I'm not sure it's that efficient. So direct mail, it can go to a specific zip code, but you might be better to put those signs on that car and drive around in that zip code for a while. Because direct mail is the most expensive CPM of really any of the advertising vehicles. One more question. Now, what she says, she used the techniques that I talked about today, and in 1 month, her sales have doubled. In 1 month. This is what she did. She says she has the magnetic signs on her car, and she has the signs on her children's car. Especially if you buying the car, you can tell them to put my sign on your car. You paying the note and the insurance? Yeah, tell them to put my sign on your car. And when they go to places, like if they go to Walmart, they have to put at least 5 business cards on windows. So that's another technique. You got to have the business cards with you, or flyers or something. You ought to go to the store a lot of times. You come out and there's a flyer stuck. That's inexpensive. It's cheap. That's a targeted method for a particular zip code. Just go to the grocery store in that zip code, get you 100 flyers and stick them on the windshield. And that's cheap to do. So this is stuff you can do under $200. But that's a testimony. She says using this technique, in 1 month, her sales doubled. Imagine what you can do. You don't even have to double every month, but if you follow this, put the signs on your car, put the signs on your body, make sure you always have plenty of cards with you. If you just increase 10% a month, in a year's time, you have over doubled. I hope this has been beneficial to you today. For $200, you can seriously change your business. I'm going to ask C. Elijah to come now and dismiss us with a prayer. And as you leave today, I want you to go to before you go to design your sign with those elements that will make it effective, and you go and you order the signs and you put them on your car and you put them on your body and you watch the difference it will make in your business. See, Elijah, if you would come and just dismiss us for today.
Let us pray. Father, we just thank you so much for the time that was spent today. We thank you for the great information, for the ideas, for the wisdom, for the experience. And Father, we just pray that you will help us to apply these principles into our businesses. And we thank you for causing us much success. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to this hour of the 24-Hour MBA. Listen to all 24 sessions from the 24hourmba.com. May you go, grow, know, and flow. May you go further, grow more prosperous, know true wisdom, and flow in wisdom's application in your life and business. May you be richly blessed for the 24-Hour MBA.